everybody. So it is once again Sunday. It is once again a Cos Talk Live short, and I am Thermocosplay here presenting this short to you today. The subject for today is actually talking about uplifting costumes. So I'm going to be showing you. Sorry, my lights just changed color, and I don't know why. Anyways, I'm going to be showing you costumes that I've made, like costumes that I started with, and then what I either redid on them, redoing armor pieces, or potentially just taking the entire costume and remaking the whole thing. So I wanted to go through and talk about how you can always take an older costume and you can uplift it. So the first costume that I ever wore was a Diablo 3 Demon Hunter, and I did not really know what I was doing at this time. I was still learning. I only have like a really old picture of this, like a full body picture, so I can share that picture with you guys. But this is kind of hello, cool gamer. This we're talking about taking old costumes and uplifting them, or taking old costumes and completely remaking them. So I wanted to share with you guys the first costume I made, which was a Diablo 3 Demon Hunter. This is my brother's pirate next to me. But for my very first costume, I wore just like a black undershirt, a pair of like stretch leggings. I got a pair of boots, and I fixed the heels on them, and I painted them the right color because they were just like this really worn out black. So I painted them brown and added like leather texture to them, and then I made my own leather buckles and my own leather straps, and I painted my buckles, made my own leg armor. I made all of the arm bits right here out of leather, like a more of a vinyl, like a furniture vinyl, stretch furniture vinyl. And I made the bracers, the pauldrons, the breastplate. For the corset, I reinforced the boning, and then I got some assistance learning how to sew leather onto it because that was not something I was experienced in. And then I made my own scarf, and that was pretty much it for the very first costume I ever wore. I just wore it to a Phoenix Comic-Con, now Fan Fusion, fashion show, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I won an award, which surprised me because it was just supposed to be a little fashion show, and they're like, this is amazing. And so I'm like, okay, well, maybe this is cool, and I can show you some of the work in progress I did with this. This is one of my tutorials that I have where I show all the things that I did to make this costume. You can see close up here on the painting. For the little like rivets, most of the time people now use, what is it called? People use the googly eyes, but I actually just took like my warbler scraps and rolled them up and used this. You can see where the boots were originally black, and I painted them a nicer brown using leather paint. And then I had to come up with ways of keeping stuff attached to me. So this was very much a learning process. Like, I did not know what I was doing, right? And it ended up with a really cool product. Like, I ended up with a really interesting outfit, but I mean, from the waist up, the outfit looked really cool, but from the waist down, my Demon Hunter looked terrible. So don't be afraid to start somewhere with your costumes, is what I'm trying to say. And a couple years later, I decided I wanted to wear my Demon Hunter again. But the thing is when you make one costume and you have like the upper half look cool, you're like, I want to make the rest of it look interesting. The problem with my upper half of my costume is it was made out of Wearblow, which is a thermoplastic that hardens, and I had foam in there as well. So it was really heavy, and it was really warm, and it just became really difficult for me to wear. So I took and I redid the armor. Let me see if I can, share this with you guys. Will you share the folder? Let me open this, and then maybe it'll share it. Here we go. So let me go, and you have like too many folders open, and it's like, trying to show you guys this, and it's just telling me no. Here we go. Okay, so a couple years later, when I decided I was going to uplift this costume, and that's something I highly recommend. If you have pieces of your costumes that you really enjoy, or you have an outfit or a character you're really happy with, but maybe your body's changed, maybe you've lost weight, gained weight, maybe you've become older and you found that you can't carry as much weight, or you just can't wear that uncomfortable garment anymore, don't be afraid to take the pieces from the outfit that you really enjoyed and upcycle them or recycle them for the costume. So with my outfit, I liked a lot of the leather pieces. I did end up getting a pair of leather pants because I was like, I probably shouldn't run around with like jean leggings here. But in order to make the new armor, I had to put on. So I was having a hard time using those plastic globes that you can form over. So I took a larger bra and I stuffed it up bigger, and then I wrapped myself in saran wrap, and then I took strips of masking tape and covered myself in them. And here you can see is where I start redrawing the pattern for my Demon Hunter armor. And I mean, I go through here, and I had a mirror in front of me that I was hoping I was doing this right, because it was really hard to draw and see what I was doing through this mirror while also making sure I was in frame for the camera. So I advise that if you're going to be making patterns like this with the saran wrap and duct tape or masking tape or painter's tape method, I highly recommend having somebody help you because it's a little bit easier when there's two of you working on something like this, right? But eventually, I ended up getting a pattern made, one that I knew was going to work better, and I was going to make it out of foam. I used the anti-fatigue floor mats because this is before I knew about like high density foam and much better foam. So here is where it went. And then I started, this is back when I was a little bit thinner. I'm working on that. But I was just showing like this is what it looks like. It's really funny looking when you take a pattern off of yourself, but you always want to cut down the middle and then you just transfer it over to the other side. So that's what I just show people. Let me see. So here's after I've transferred over onto the foam. I always use metallic markers because I find that I enjoy the darker foams better than the lighter foams. I know you can get EVA foam now in like white and gray and black. For some reason, my brain just really, really likes the dark EVA foam. So I use metallic markers. That's one thing I'm going to advise. If you are using like maybe the Warbless black art, which I have somewhere, I need to put it away, or you're going to use the EVA foam that's really dark, get metallic markers. And just word of warning, if you do metallic markers and you paint, make sure you do a layer of primer over it because sometimes the metallic markers can come through. Typically it's the copper that's the problem. The silver usually is easy to cover. But yeah, I went through and I just started redoing this pattern, making boob cups, building stuff up, and I put it on my mannequin, and then so you can see here where it's coming out. So I realized I was going to have to add straps to bring it in more. So I did add stuff in the back, and then I'm starting to build the pauldrons. And what I decided for this time, my previous armor had like all of these strings underneath. Like it took me 10 minutes just to get one little tiny like bralette thing for my Demon Hunter. So this time I was going to make it a shirt with like Velcro on the sides. And that's pretty much what I did. I just went through and started fixing it up, and I finally got like hip armor, and I got a whole cowl, and there's Warbless scraps. Why do I have Warbless scrap pictures in here? Oh yeah, because I was just showing more of how I kind of put it all together. You guys can see the inside now where like I took the anti-fatigue floor mats and built a bra inside. Anti-fatigue floor mat bra. Yay. So you just show you some work in progress. I do try on constantly. I constantly test fit when I'm making things because you never know when you're going to make something wrong and you're going to have to alter it. And with the shoulders, I had to take them off and add them back again a couple times because I couldn't get the point right. So understand that now I make paper patterns first. Like I usually use cardstock or maybe some patternies. And I make that first. And here you go. Finally, you can see the back. So this is what brings it in and keeps it cinched, but also creates really cool back armor. So yeah, I have this armor in a box right now because I can't let it go, even though I don't know if I'll ever wear it again. Just because it looks really, really, really cool. So that's kind of what I based it off of. Yeah, so this is just me going from an old costume to a new costume. Now, sometimes your old costumes that you start off with are not as pretty as that and you can't upcycle them. I'll give you an example. I think I still have pictures of this. I don't know. I was really angry at this particular how this turned out. So if I don't have pictures of this, I really wouldn't be super surprised. But I think this is it. I think maybe I don't. But I made a Surge from oh goodness gracious. Why am I forgetting what she's called? From X-Men. So Surge from X-Men. I made an outfit for her, and I just got really upset with Surge because I just didn't feel like she actually matched what I was trying to do. And so my original Surge, I'm just going to look up Surge and see if I can find her. I don't know if I'm going to be able to. Okay, yeah. Maybe I have the old one. Okay, I do. All right, I can show you this horrible old costume. You guys can laugh at me, but then I can show you what happened when I was like, okay, you know what? I've decided that I'm not upcycling this. I am completely redoing it. So let's share with you the horrors of being a baby costumer and thinking you know what you're doing. And like, while the arm guards are really cool for this, I think the arm guards were the only thing I kept from this, actually. I think I did keep one item from this original costume, but so this is also when I was learning how to pattern. So you're just gonna laugh at my terrible. I apparently could not draw darts. But I always started with my dress form, and this is also before I learned that when you make something for a gauntlet, yes, you can measure true to size, but I highly recommend doing the saran wrap and duct tape or tape method for anything that's going to be close or tight to your skin and something you have to slip your arms through. Always make sure you actually make it like maybe a ½ inch to an inch bigger, even if it's going to be a little loose on you, because getting it on and off ended up being a little bit of a problem for this. I made it too tight. So here you can see that it's like caught on my arm. Like I had it caught right here. I could not actually get this all the way on. And I kept going. And so like what I did is when you see where I couldn't get it on, I ended up cutting it open more and then just adding a little dart of foam into it. And when I did that, it actually fit me better the next time. And I was able to wear it. I did have it too low to my wrist, and when I was moving during like the shoots and conventions, I actually ended up causing like bruising and like chafing on my wrist. Even though it's soft foam, you can still bruise, so just be careful. I was trying to make a painting pattern, and I decided I couldn't paint it, so then I was going to make it out of fabric. So Surge is one of the newer X-Men, and she has the ability to control like extreme electricity so much that she can kind of jump in and out of the future, sort of like the Flash can in DC, where he goes fast enough, he can go in and out of the future. I also at this point had not learned a lot about stretch fabric. Now I love stretch fabric, and now I would have been like, no, you should have done this a little different. But this is why I was showing you. This is the beginning of the costume, and then I'll show you the updated costume. You can see the drastic difference in years. Like they're 2 or 3 years apart. So this is like the first year that I'm cosplaying that I'm making this. And the gauntlets were the one things that I was really proud of. So you saw those ones that I made before. I ended up completely scrapping them, and then I added more of a curve so that I could move my arms more. And then I bought some tea lights, just glued them in there because you could unscrew them and replace the batteries really easily. The first time I did it, I covered it in, someone told me to cover it in Bondo to make it like sturdier. Don't do that. It made it way too heavy. So I had to remake them again. And this time I just smoothed it out with Plasti Dip. And it looked a lot nicer. Still, a little rough, but I was like, this is my first within like the 9 months of me ever starting cosplay. Like this is early on, guys. Also, this is before I knew that I should have sealed the inside of my foam. So these were eaten away by my sweat within like 2 years. But they look really cool, right? I mean, this is the one part of the costume that I had to make it 3 times because I kept messing up. But that third time, it turned out great. And so this is the full character. It's not a good costume. It's okay. It's fine, guys. It's a terrible costume. But yeah, that was, here you go. Just, you can make fun of me. I don't mind. But Surge, let me see if I can find, I thought I had one of me in the outfit in full. I did. Okay, here's it right here. So I'll share this with you, and then I'll share the updated. Hello, Amanda. Hi, Matt. So I'll share the updated, okay? All right, so this is where what I ended up with. I was supposed to have the inside lined with black too. I didn't know how to do it because I didn't really know how to sew yet. That's what she looks like, and this is what I was trying to achieve. Well, Serge has a couple different outfits, so I decided later on, you know what? I really like my gauntlets, but I absolutely hate my outfit. Yeah, Amanda. So Amanda says that I'm going to have to remake my Azula armor. They are way too tight, but I wondered if the thickness of the foam. Thickness of foam can be a problem. I always recommend starting with 2 or 3 millimeter foam if you start with armor, because then you can always add like thickness underneath. You could add like extra layers of foam, craft foam or something to make it thicker if it's not puffy enough, or you could use other foam to make areas stand up. But I recommend starting with thinner foam and then adding layers underneath or on top as you move along so that it is more comfortable to wear. But I'll show you. You guys saw my terrible old Serge. So I end up redoing her, and oh, my nose is so itchy today. What is my problem? Okay. And I went to, here we go. This is the, there we go. So I ended up redoing her, and I went with the new style Serge, right? So she has these two outfits, and I kind of sort of merged them a bit because I liked how they looked. So I went in here and I did a new sketch to kind of combine them. And I found as much reference art as I could. And then I started this time with a proper pattern because I realized I wasn't at this because it was only another like a year or two later. I was not quite at the point that I can make patterns. I can make custom patterns now, no problem. But I wasn't quite at that point. So I started learning. I used a quick sew pattern. Quick sews are really good for beginners. If you're trying to understand patterns, it's usually only 2 to 4 pieces and it's labeled beautifully. They also are size inclusive, so I really like them. This is also when I learned to sew with a ballpoint needle on a zigzag stitch because you don't straight stitch spandex. And this is the result. Like, oh my gosh, I actually made a proper bodysuit for the first time. Then I had to cut out the inside so that I could make that weird yellow thing they always have. And boom, I have the inside of a suit, and I'm apparently wearing a really weird beanie. Guys, forgive my beanies. Like, I always wore really weird hats. Now, I also knew that I was going to need boots, so I got some really comfortable wedges. And then I just stretched. So spandex stretches really easily for things. So honestly, instead of having to make a paper pattern, you can just take it, stretch it along, and then pin it in, and then slide your leg out and sew it together, and you're done. And then I just hot glued the bottom. This is before I learned the stirrup method. So I hot glued the bottom of it to my shoes. And then for the armor, I was at this point familiar with making patterns for armor. So I was making the knee pads and the guards on the ankles, and those were pretty easy to do. So not much complication there. I would, though, I didn't shade these. I should have, because when you shade cutouts, it makes the symbol pop. So always make sure, even if you just go in with like a darker yellow or a little bit of a black, always shade your armor. Make sure that paint has dimension. Finally, she has the silver, which I showed you, silver gauntlets, but mine had some gaps. So I figured if I made like a silver spandex arm underneath, it would help cover some of those gaps. And then I could sew a glove onto it, and it would just look like it was a glove. And then this is where I upgraded my gauntlets. I used the same lights and everything. I just stole them off my old gauntlets and made them into spandex rings. I can't speak. And here's the result. This is the updated Serge. I used the same belt from the originally, and I just painted it a different color. And it looks much closer to what the character actually is. So with a little bit more work and a little bit more research and a little bit of practice, I actually ended up with the character I had originally wanted to look like. So that was very exciting. Plus the armor was so easy to take on and off. So again, you will grow with your costumes. You will either grow out of them, or you'll get too thin that they're too big on you. If you do run into a problem where a costume is too big on you and you still want to keep it, if it's foam, usually you could just cut the side off and then use contact cement and glue it together. Now, if that would affect how, like, maybe there's a pattern or something on it you can't line up, honestly, just put some like really thin furniture foam underneath that squishy foam and just pat it out. Like, just pat it out. Why not? If you guys have any questions, let me know. I do have, I can go over a couple more costume upgrades, or I can talk about more advanced costume concepts, because I've kind of gone through using like a corset, adding details to it, using existing stuff, adding details to it, then starting with existing materials and building them up, and then completely starting from scratch. So we've kind of moved along from like found objects to thrifted objects to from scratch items. So we can move into more advanced concepts, or I can talk a little bit more about altering costumes. You just let me know what you'd like me to discuss, and I can pull it open. If we're going to talk more about altering costumes, I do. Hey, stop it! Computer, stop it! The computer's trying to do a search. Sorry. I do have. A lot more that I could show you. I could show you my Yojimbo, where I started and where it ended. And then I could also show you some updates I've done to other costumes. Like when I updated my, oh goodness, what is her name? It's in a Borderlands cosplay. Why is my brain? Oh, yeah. Nisha the Lawbringer. Yeah. All right, so we'll talk about altering costumes. We'll keep doing that, Amanda. Amanda is voted for altering costumes, and all you other people are silent, so Amanda gets her way. Anyways. All right, so let me open up Nisha the Lawbringer for you guys. There's some weird work in progress in here. You guys, you can laugh at it. I don't care, it's fine. But I'll show you what it looked like versus what the photos ended up looking like and what I changed in between. So let me share my screen here. Hey, I said open. Rude. My computer's fighting me today. It's just making fun of me. It's being so rude. Matt, is my voice still coming through weird? Might be that my volume needed to be raised up. Maybe it's too. Is that better? I'm going to keep testing. You guys tell me if the voice is better. Okay, maybe my volume was up too loud. Let me look at my settings real fast. Yeah, my volume may have been up too loud. Okay, so I have a volume adjuster over here. If you guys do hear sound getting too loud, let me know. Sometimes I accidentally bump the volume adjuster. I'm not used to it being here, and I bump it. And I'm like, just spike it up. Everybody can hear me super loud. Let's do that. Hi, Jake. All right, so we're going to talk about where I just opened this window. There. All right, so talk about Nisha the Lawbringer. So I did Nisha the Lawbringer, I think my second year into cosplay. I purchased a child's hat. My head's small. That is a kid size hat. I feel like it was a little bit of a big kid's hat, but whatever. And then I got a wig, just a standard black wig. And I started putting a jacket together. So like I'll show you guys the work in progress on this, but I did use a pattern for the jacket. I believe it was another quick sew pattern. I really like quick sew. It's awesome. All right. And I had to remove one of the sleeves. Well, actually, I just didn't even sew it on because Nisha only has one sleeve. Apparently, video game characters and just having one sleeve, like, I don't get it. It's just, I don't get it. Whatever. But I took also a bought white shirt. The reason I did a bought white shirt is I bought a couple of these because you'll see what happens. So I boosted up the collar by starching it. I did use a non-stretch polyester for this. It's a polyester, it's a poly cotton blend. and it was really heavy duty. It kind of felt like soft canvas. It was really weird. But I loved the color and how vibrant it was. And so I started going in through with like some pencil. I think you guys can see it. And I started drawing in where I wanted to do the shading and painting that I was going to end up doing. And then I began painting and shading this jacket. And this took me hours. I used an Americana textile medium and I mixed it. I think I ended up doing 2 parts textile medium to 1 part paint because I wanted it to be looser so I could get that watercolor effect. But if you want to get a thicker consistency, it's a 1-to-1 mix of acrylic paint to Americana textile fabric medium. And then I also painted the shirt, and I had that picture. I kept holding it and drawing it, and using it as a reference because I freehanded this whole thing. You can see there's a little bit of yellow underneath the shirt. It ended up looking cool in photos, but the reason that yellow is there is I sketched the drawing originally with a yellow highlighter because I figured if it went over and I just painted some white over it, it would look like maybe the guns were glowing from having overheated or something. I don't know. But I wanted to show you this because, and then for the chain, I just grabbed a purse chain, the ones that are made out of plastic, and then I sewed in some little tab, like loops, there we go, into my jacket, and I could just hook it on. But oh look, the old gauntlets. These are the materials I use for painting. I bought children's guns, so I was using a lot of recycled materials. I took them apart completely rewired them because I wanted the lights to do something different and I wanted the gun to spin a different way and I wanted to get rid of the sound diode because it was horrible. And then completely repainted them. I also painted the hat. I started dirtying it, hitting it with Plasti Dip, hitting it with other paint colors to try and make it look like it was worn down. And then I began adding pieces of foam to it. So this is the original costume. You see the steps that I've taken to complete it. This watered down section right here is an extremely watered down acrylic white because I wanted to kind of wash over the hat to give it that cell shaded effect. And then little bits and pieces. You're just going to see it start coming together and me constantly trying stuff. I love trying. Now, this was what took a really long time too, is hand painting the wood grain on the handles so that the guns didn't look like cheap, you could think it's pink or blue children's toys. I am so glad I rewired that thing though, because it ended up spinning different and the lights are really cool. But don't be afraid to use, I mean, a lot of cons don't let guns to come in anymore, but don't be afraid to use things like, oh yeah, it was blue. You can kind of see on the underside still the blue in there, but it lights up and it didn't pulse. When I first bought it, it pulsed too fast and I'm epileptic and I did not like it. So I changed the pulse rate. You just mess with the wires. And here you go. You can see my patterns that I used for the jacket. And this is always have reference. Always have reference. I love Borderlands. They've turnarounds the character, makes your life. And there's my cat eating, but you can see there's a lot of work in progress going on here. And you've seen the final products. So I'm just going to kind of cruise through here. If you guys have questions, let me know. But oh, look, we're back at the beginning. But so I'm going to stop sharing. So this is the work in progress that you saw. Now, before I ended up even wearing this well, I did wear that to a convention, right? But I ran into problems with, I made this like little leg compact pouch thing. It didn't stay on. My pants, when I was sweating, for some reason, the paint didn't set, even though it was supposed to, and I think I just didn't put enough textile medium in it. I had problems with the lower half of this costume. So I also had problems with the jacket. I realized I had made it too long. So I made some changes here. And between the first time I wore the costume and the second time I wore the costume, I made some significant differences. So let me see if I can find the first time or the second time. First time, 2015. Yeah. That's how long ago I wore this. This is 2015. I think we've got the whole group together here. All right, so I'll show you guys this picture. So you can just see the picture of everything at least. And then I'll show you the changes. So here's everything together. I had leg pouches. They kept sliding down because I didn't actually have any supports on my waist, and then my thighs just reject anything that gets attached to them. My leg armor ended up chafing my knee pretty bad, so I needed to adjust that. And then the jacket, as you can see, is just a little too long. Like Nisha's jacket's a little bit shorter, and my shirt was a little too long too. Okay, kitty cat. How many times do I have to tell you can't come here while I'm streaming? Stop being rude. So I also didn't like how I'd cell shaded the pants. Like it was getting there, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. So I made some changes. I made some adjustments. I made some investments in this costume. And the next year in 2016, I believe it was 2016, we did our Borderlands group for Phoenix Fan Fest that year, and it was a significant difference. So I will share this with you guys. If you see a cat, yep. The cat always wants attention. I'm like, I'm almost done, buddy. I'm almost done. This is the last thing I'll share. If you guys have questions, please let me know. I am only doing 30 minutes because I'm by myself. But this is the new costume. So you can see I actually cut the shirt about 2 inches shorter. I cut the jacket 3 inches shorter. I cut the jacket basically to the bottom of the lowest buckle or like lowest fake belt that I made. I enhanced the paint job on the shirt. I actually enhanced some of the paint on the jacket as well. And then I bought custom printed leggings so that I would have better stuff. And then I also, on the leg armor, I trimmed it down lower so that my knee would have more flex. And that helped significantly. So you can see our whole little group here. Let's keep cruising through here so you can see everyone. I also helped to make this costume. I have to say this material, so it's not printed on stripes. It's actually fabricated stripes in between. And it was like velvet or something. Oh my gosh, it was so hard to sew. I also helped make Ellie. We traced her out on just some fabric and made it really, really big and stuffed her full of pillows. But here you go. So you can see I've enhanced the paint. It's a little bit brighter, a little bit sharper. I also added more of a kind of wood grain paint to my armor on my left arm that's attached to the cuff. I added real nails, real screws, correction, to the right arm bands so that they would actually pop out more. And the printed leggings just fit better now that everything's kind of it just meshed better and it worked. So I was pretty happy with how that turned out. And so that's the thing right there is my first leg armor, my right leg in black, you couldn't actually see it in the original photos because it blended in with my shoes. So this time I kind of gave it like a silver wash so it stand out a little bit. And although it's not very noticeable, it makes it pop off the black shoes better. The lowering the leg armor, the purple one on the left leg made it so much easier to walk. And then just adding some little touches here and there, like remembering to add the little white, wrist wrap, like or arm wrap, where I clearly got injured, and just little updates here and there with some paint, a new pair of leggings, and shortening the shirt and the jacket made the costume so much better. So okay, all right, the cat is on the keyboard. Okay, so even the smaller stuff, just small changes can make a significant difference to your costumes. So don't be afraid to do those. There's my brother. But yeah, it was really fun getting to be Nisha again and doing proper cell shading and just embracing the character a lot more than I had before. So we are kind of near the end of the episode. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Once again, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Cool Gamer, for joining the stream today. And thank you to anybody else who hasn't commented. I see there's more watchers, but you guys might just be chilling out watching. That's totally fine. Next week will be the last of our shorts. Next week, if I can, I'm going to try and... Okay, stop it. Next week, if I can, I'm going to try and get Nova Rin Cosplay on here with me so we can talk a little bit about some 3D printing projects that he's been working on for me and that I'm going to hopefully be able to wear at Tucson. Doing some cool stuff there. And then is it September 4th? I think it's September 4th. We are going to be streaming live from Tucson Comic Con. So we'll probably be wandering the convention floor. We're planning on getting little microphones that we can Bluetooth or hook up to our phone so that you guys can actually hear us properly. But yeah, that is the plan. I hope it works. Thank you all for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday. I'm going to let you all go and move my cat off of the desk because he's pushing into me really hard right now. And you can see there's another creature back there waiting for me. If you guys have questions, again, feel free to contact us through our website, costalk-live.com, or you can reach out to us through Facebook and Instagram as well. We stream on 3 platforms, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. And in the near future, we are hoping to incorporate Instagram into that as well. We're just working on some new setup, which is why I'm the only one here because we're doing some logistical changes. And as that happens, people have to do stuff. So yeah, conventions coming up on Labor Day weekend. For those who don't know, it's going to be Tucson Comic Con, Sabaton Con for your big anime fans. I think Sabaton still has passes. I know Tucson does, so double check though. And then for those of you who are not on the West Coast, there is Dragon Con. I don't know if Dragon Con has passes anymore, but Dragon Con's coming up as well. And I think there's another convention going on Labor Day, but I don't remember the name. So the ones coming up that I know about are Tucson Comic Con in Tucson, Arizona, Sabaton Con in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, and then Dragon Con in Atlanta, Georgia. So I hope to see you all soon. Hope you have a great Sunday, and it was great spending time with you. Bye, everyone.